Hi, my name is Schumann. I'm an executive career and life coach, and I help my clients be more effective in living the life they want. Today I want to talk about burnout. What is burnout? How does it happen? What are the early warning signs and what can happen if you ignore them? Burnout is basically when you cease to function because of excessive stress over a prolonged period of time. And stress as such is obviously not necessarily negative. Stress can be healthy and stimulating, inspiring. And maybe you're the kind of person that really thrives on stress. And maybe you pride yourself of being able to cope with a large amount of stress. Maybe you think stress is normal, it's part of your job specification. Everybody plays the same game and you don't want to look weak in front of others. And you know, if that's you, a little bit of thinking along those lines may actually be okay. And at the same time, I encourage you to really be aware of what the stress does to you and when it maybe becomes too much. Because if we don't notice the early warning signs of burnout, then we may experience adverse effects on our mental and physical well-being. And I'd like to demonstrate how this can happen with a prop that I brought, which is this orange here. You see, I believe that when we are relaxed and healthy, we are a little bit like this orange here, full of life, juicy, strong, beautiful, happy, and perfect. And I wonder when you last felt that you were as happy as this beautiful orange here. Maybe during your last holiday. Very often people find that they're better people when they're on holiday. Maybe that resonates with you. Maybe you feel that when you're on holiday, you're more relaxed, more friendly, more social, spontaneous, and it's easy to be that when we don't have any stresses. But back home, we sometimes turn into a person that we don't really want to be. And that is because normal life isn't like a holiday. There are stresses in our life. And these stresses, they apply pressure on this beautiful orange. Most of my clients work in high performance jobs. And stress is not something that happens occasionally. It's there every day. It's a constant pressure from all sides. And I know this too from my time working in banking and legal services. There can be a never-ending demand on you, and no matter how efficient you work, as soon as you free up some time, there's more to do. We will never be on top of it. There's an endless flow of demands, and if we don't create any boundaries, nobody else will do this. So the pressure can be constant, and that alone can already take its toll. But now imagine something else happens. Imagine there's a cost-cutting exercise in your organization and the headcount is reduced and suddenly you have to do the work of 2 people. So the amount of pressure intensifies. And then your boss gives you this really important project that has priority and needs to be completed within 2 weeks. And you don't know how to do it. You can't drop all the other stuff. So you decide you work late in the evenings and through the weekends. Does this sound familiar? Certainly sounds to me. And that's when you may experience the first warning signs of stress. It could be that you experience low energy, that you're very irritable, that you snap completely out of character, or that you have mood swings. So things start becoming uncomfortable. And then what often also happens, there's not just external stress on you, very often we create our own internal stress on top of this. What do I mean by this? Very often people cultivate negative thinking, negative thoughts about themselves. Something like, I'm not good enough, I should be faster, I should be a better leader, I should be more friendly. Other people are better. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm a fraud. I'm an imposter. Does any of this sound familiar? These are very common things that people tell themselves. And you would be surprised how many highly intelligent and successful people come to my coaching practice and still they somehow think they are an imposter. It's called imposter syndrome. Well, you may not have a full-blown imposter syndrome, but still have some negative self-talk. And if that happens, it's quite damaging. It creates this additional stress on top of all the external stress that you are already suffering. So things become even worse. At this point, your symptoms may also increase. Maybe you now have anger, or maybe you feel depressed and you start resenting your job. So what can you do? You need some relief. How can you get relief? Maybe having a glass of wine in the evening, or 2 or 3 or something stronger. That feels good, doesn't it? But then on the next day you feel even worse. You have less energy and it becomes more difficult to get through the day, and you're less resilient to the stress that you experience. So what then? Oh, here's an idea. How about I pep myself up with caffeine and with sugar? That feels good too, it really helps. But only for an hour. And then you crash again and you need to have another spike. More sugar, more caffeine, more carbs, whatever it is. And you're going up and down, and it can actually be a downward spiral because the crashes become worse and worse. It kind of sucks energy out of you, and it's a real strain on your adrenal system. And maybe on top of that, you don't drink enough water and you don't eat healthy food that give you the nutrients that you need. You just eat junk food because obviously you don't have time to cook properly. And what this then means is that after a while you don't really have a healthy orange anymore. You are more something like this here, a kind of shriveled, very weak orange. An orange that is kind of dehydrated and not very stable. It's not as strong anymore. It can't take that much pressure. But of course, the pressure is still the same, or possibly even growing. And this is where people often experience health issues, maybe frequent colds or problems with the digestive system or something more serious. Maybe you experience brain fog, anxiety attacks. And after a while, cracks appear on this orange which make it even less stable to deal with all the pressure. And then there's a day when everything goes wrong. You start the morning already with an ugly argument with your spouse. The pressure starts building and you already start the day agitated. And you have to drive to a really important client meeting. The car breaks down, so you are late. And when you finally arrive in the office, you need to print papers and the printer isn't working. And you rush to your computer. The pressure is building. And there's an email in your inbox from your chief executive officer who wants to do something urgently. But you can't because the client is waiting, so you don't know what to do and you start panicking. And you fire out emails frantically, the pressure is growing and you're feeling really, really stressed. And then a colleague asks you something from the back and you turn around and in the hurry, you knock over the coffee cup and all the coffee spills over the keyboard and suddenly you snap. Suddenly you're no longer a happy orange. You are a bit of a mess. And all the juice here that you see flowing, that's your life juice. That's your joy. And what then? If you're lucky, you can just take a few days off, recover and return to work. But if you have a serious burnout, it may take much longer. This was me in 2010 when I experienced a serious burnout working in financial services in London for one of the big retail banks. And it took me 14 months housebound to recover from my burnout episode. My story may sound extreme, and this example with the orange may sound dramatic. But you know, burnout can happen to everybody. Don't let it get to this. Listen to the early warning signs. Nobody wins when you burn out. Your employer doesn't because they may have to pay you sick pay. Your team doesn't win, they have to take on your work. Your family doesn't win because you're not there to support them. And your friends and communities, anybody you like to support, don't win. Sometimes looking after ourselves first can be the best thing that we do for the people we want to serve. As they say on airplanes, put the oxygen mask first on you so that you can then help others. And how do you do this? Well, to be a happy orange like this, a strong, joyful orange, we need to create some boundaries to reduce the amount of pressure. Nobody will do this for you. And we need to stop battering ourselves. And this requires stopping some of the negative self-talk. And we need to nurture this orange through drinking water, eating healthy food and exercising so that it's strong and resilient. If you would like to have some help with this, let's talk. There is a booking link in the post to this video, which you can use to book a free call with me or one of my associates, and together we can explore your specific situation and how we can help you to become like this happy, joyful orange and stay at that level. We look forward to hearing from you. Bye.